hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraka. And on Street Talk, we did political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside,
Charles Thomas,
Patrick Maynard.
Okay, man, we got a lot to cover. But you want to talk something about one of our famous ladies?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Harriet Tubman in a limited way.
Mm-hmm.
We know how she was a hero throughout the period of enslavement. She started working with the Underground Railroad around 1849,
Okay.
well before the start of the Civil War, all through the 1850s.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Civil War, in my estimation, her valor and courage have not been properly recognized, just as her military service wasn't recognized by the Union for almost 100 years until after she was dead.
Mm-hmm.
This woman is the very first woman in U.S. history to lead a military raid. She led a raid called the Combahee River Raid, which has been documented and even valorized in movies and whatnot. But if you think about the bravery and the intelligence and the innovation that she used to accomplish this goal, she had set up a network of spies and information gatherers in this area in South Carolina, outside of this fortress called Montgomery, and she knew that the working conditions of the enslaved Africans there was horrific. They're working from sun up to sundown in these rice paddies. Mm-hmm. Many tried to escape. They came to the fort. She was able to organize some of them into a network of spies, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And when the move came on the Combahee River, she led that. And she had such accurate intelligence on what the Confederates had done to stop this raid, that she was able to locate all of the mines in the river and help the Union Navy navigate downstream to reach the fort and then engage in battle. She freed over 700 enslaved Africans at that time. And this is a woman who disguised herself by being what she was before she was freed, which was a nurse, a woman who had deep understanding of roots and other medicinal properties in plants. She had, as is well known, she had once been struck in the head with a piece of iron that was intended for someone else.
Right.
Now, she maintains, because she wore her hair natural, she had thick dreads, that saved her life. But as she was unconscious and she came to, she came back with what some people think was epilepsy or other some other kind of malady that had to do with brain damage.
Right.
But she also said that she could see things before they happened, that she was able to understand events in advance of their occurrence, and she attributes this to her ability to also evade bullets and illness. Here's a woman who worked with people who had smallpox, one of the most deadly diseases that mankind's ever seen. And for any of you MAGA people out there, smallpox was eradicated because of a vaccine. You might want to keep that in mind. But she was able to work in these areas with bullet holes in her garments, in her hat, places that obviously she'd been shot at, never wounded.
Yeah.
Working with these people with all these illnesses that were highly infectious and never became ill, and she always attributed it to God's blessing on her. She was a very devout Christian. So we look at this woman, and if we don't add into the equation her courage, her raw courage, and her intelligence, and her and her imagination and innovation and how she approached what she was doing, we really don't appreciate the full measure of what Harriet Tubman was.
She was clairvoyant too.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And she attributed that to God's protection.
Yeah.
And I think we all have that melanin.
Well, it's
Spirituality.
the third eye.
Yeah, you got to get it.
And,
You can nurture it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can eat right, you can meditate, you can rest, you can drink enough water, you can leave alone toxins, whether they come in a KFC bucket or a bottle with a label on it. There's ways to develop
it.
your inner vision. And obviously Harriet Tubman was a blessed woman in that way.
Yeah.
And I think as a people, I think we have forgotten. I think we need to forgive ourselves for the wrong that we've done to ourselves, to purify ourselves and to purge ourselves as a people, so that we can move forward and eliminate the fear and the toxic feeling that we have in our community to better and extend our life expectancy. Because there's a lot of stress and a lot of distractions in our community. If we can focus on ourselves, I think it would be a help.
Oh,
to
yeah.
move forward.
Definitely, man. Yeah. The lady I'm going to talk about is Miss Frances Perkins. Back in the late 1800s, her people was kind of in the middle class, you know, and she was born around about 1870 or something, and 1902 she decided to go and get some education, and she was the first woman that President Roosevelt, she was the first woman he hired. And when he hired her, he didn't know that she was going to come up with all these things. But if you remember, Roosevelt had said 50 hours a week, and when she was moved into this position, she said 40 hours a week.
Of the work week.
Yeah, work week, and all this whole bunch of more different things that she changed herself, you know, and we'll get into more and more about these women as we roll on in the different shows, but we're going to talk a lot about these women. Patrick, you were saying?
Well, I think we need to continue the look at women, especially the women of color, and the role they played in the history of this country, even though the country seems at times not to recognize it.
Hey.
So we need to bring it to the forefront, especially for our youngsters.
Well, right now, you know, they're talking about the woman that Biden has to be on the Supreme Court, and it's like, now we've had 3 people put on the Supreme Court who really, you know, really haven't done anything, you know, and this woman all kinds of
Credentials.
yeah, you know, and
She's bona fide.
yeah, you know, and we got people right now, Susan Collins from what state she from? Maine. So, well, I gotta wait, and I just have
She's
to.
always waiting.
Yeah.
I'm concerned. I have to see how her transcription.
And look, man, that is the myth of white supremacy raising its ugly head,
Yeah.
like we were talking about before the show. This woman has impeccable credentials.
Yeah. Right.
She has credentials that anyone on the Supreme Court would endeavor would desire to have.
Yeah.
She went to Harvard. She was law review. I mean,
everything.
You don't even have to. You don't have to insult her by reviewing it all.
Right.
But the same people, like Ladybug, Lindsey Graham, or Susan Collins,
Yeah.
or many of these other Republicans who just voted for her
Yeah.
as being qualified to be a federal appeals
Yeah.
judge just a few months ago.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they have concerns
Yeah.
and they want to see what her LSAT scores
Yeah.
are. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of qualifications. It's not a matter of empiric standards. It's a matter of her having a black ass.
That's it.
It's her skin color.
Yeah.
That's what's making them say that they don't
Yeah.
want her on the court.
Yeah.
Now, if she was a shucking, jiving, cooning, head
Yeah.
bobbing,
Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
smiling with something ain't
Yeah.
funny and scratching her head when
Yeah.
it doesn't itch.
Yeah.
Oh, she'd be qualified then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she'd be overqualified.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
know that?
They're jealous.
Yeah. Do you know that 95 of the people who've been on the Supreme Court been men? There's only seven on there that haven't been white, and we've had only 7 in all that wasn't white. All the rest of them been white.
Well, it's demonstrative of the mythical status of white male superiority. And they're telling they've done more, they know more, they've accomplished more, so they should have more power.
Mhm.
That's the leg that we stand on. So the first female Supreme Court justice we had wasn't until the 70s.
Yeah, Sam Adele O'Connor.
Yeah, and so, that's 200, roughly 200 years after the union began.
Yeah.
And since then we've had a sprinkling of women, one Hispanic.
Mhm.
We've had one black man. We've got another one who's heavily melanated, but
Yeah,
he's not
well,
a black man.
yeah.
And now you have this debate. So. Anytime they start talking to you, they start saying that they're concerned about qualifications,
Yeah, yeah,
experience.
yeah.
No,
It's
they're
bullshit.
concerned about one thing and one thing. Well, two things: that there's going to be another justice on the liberal side of the court,
Mhm.
and that this justice is black.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You know,
their concern.
Yeah.
Because if you start having too many black people in positions of authority and power, then all of a sudden this mythical standard where everyone else just isn't as
Yeah.
qualified.
The American
just
image.
isn't quite as good, not quite as smart.
Yeah.
That goes away.
Yeah.
That's the American image they're trying to maintain.
Well, it's
Yeah.
Western
Yeah.
civilization.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing, if you look at what's going on in Ukraine, we have a totalitarian, authoritarian dictator flexing his muscles, moving west, trying to take more power
And-
through hegemony,
yeah, mhm.
okay? And I've heard a lot of black folks say, well, we don't have a dog in that fight, because I see the Ukrainians won't let Africans or Indians or Arabs pass a border freely into Poland. And I say, well, welcome to the 21st century. Welcome to the 20th century. Welcome to the 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th,
Yeah.
and 15th
Yeah.
century. Because in those times, we've had this myth carried
Mhm.
forward
Oh, yeah.
that somehow white people are better
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
and we are less than, and we should not be surprised in the midst of total war, which is what we have.
Mhm.
In a fight where, as Africans in America, we do have a dog in that fight, and whether we realize it or not. We have a dog in that fight. We have a vested interest to see one side prevail and the other side not. But we should not be surprised in fighting that fight that the ugly head of white supremacy is reared, because
Oh.
it's going to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
If you don't understand that, life will
Yeah.
confuse
You know, ever
Yeah.
since we've been here the second time, and it's over 500 years, and it's been like that, and a lot of us don't realize it. You know.
But
Yeah.
it's in order to put it into context, you have to understand civilization prior to the 15th century.
Mhm.
And then if you want to understand civilization even more thoroughly, you have to understand civilization prior to 340 BC.
Mhm. Yep.
And then if you want to learn how people of African descent have built everything from language to
Mhm.
math
Mhm.
to all the disciplines of math to science,
Music.
agriculture, music, all of it
Yeah.
came from us.
Yeah.
So now you have this concern that we can't organize, we can't
Mhm.
get together, we can't create our own economic
Mhm.
power. Well, history belies that notion.
Mhm. I was talking to a guy this morning at the Y. You know, we talked, and I was telling him, you know, a lots of the things that right now, the red light, stop sign, all them
Blood transfusion.
was created by black.
Blood, yeah.
Yeah.
Under the most heinous conditions.
Yeah.
Where you could not freely avail yourself of an education.
Right.
Where you could not freely avail yourself of bank loans
Yeah.
to participate in the capitalistic system.
Yeah.
I could go on and on and on about the hurdles put in front of us. My position is the economic position we're in today is amazing considered all the hindrance that's been put in front
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah.
But again, if you feel that Russia invading Ukraine does not involve us, okay, let Putin win. Let NATO fall apart like it would have if we had Twitler in
Yeah,
office.
yeah.
Let NATO fall apart, and all of a sudden you got all these Western countries falling under a totalitarian regime. And then all of a sudden the Berlin Conference of 1895 is brought up right back out into the open. And maybe all of a sudden it is a good idea to make sure that black folks are kept separate and unequal
Yeah.
by law.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not overtly,
Yeah.
not covertly rather, but overtly
yeah.
by law. There's a lot worse we can do, and we have totalitarians like Putin in charge. We don't have to look all that back far to see what happens to
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
So we need to be, like with everything else, vigilant about what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt our economic prospects.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's going to hurt the
It's-
ability of people to go to and from jobs.
Yeah.
With the price of gasoline
Yeah.
spiking.
Yeah.
The price of goods, food, and services
Yeah.
going up because of this war.
Yeah.
And it really has not begun to directly affect us yet.
No, not
So
yet.
we need to be very vigilant about this.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that because, there's a difference between a renter and an owner. A person that's renting, he don't own any property or
Right,
anything,
right,
but the person that owns, he's got property.
Yeah.
And I think we as a community, we renters, and it's just a higher form of sharecropping, because, you just working the land just to pay the bills, but you don't own no land. So I think we as a people need to start owning our land so that we can have a stronger voice and be more protective of our community.
Yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree to that. But you were saying, Patrick.
Well, if we go back to Charles, we do need to make a more concerted effort to look in terms of what we do for ourselves.
Okay.
I was listening to a clip there yesterday, and this guy was talking about the way black people spend their money. We don't think in terms of buying what we need. We buy what we want, what we think gives us a little clout, what we think is going to make us look bigger than the other person.
Okay.
And as a result, we squander it. And there's nothing left behind.
Okay.
So now, you have, like he used the example, you have this Timberland shoe and it got a little scuff, you throw that, you want a new pair. What's wrong with a little scuff? Clean it up.
I agree. I was watching something on TV just 4 or 5 years ago where they would talk to this black guy and they would talk to this white guy, and I seen something like it a couple of months ago. But the white guy was saying, and I was just watching it. The white guy was saying blacks spend money needlessly, and he was saying that he had, quite a bit, and he was driving an old car, and the black guy was living in a house paying rent and driving a Cadillac. So, as you were saying,
Squander.
yeah, we
How many black folks have 401ks?
I don't know.
Millions. How many black folks have investment accounts with Schwab or some other investment firm?
Oh, maybe.
Millions.
Yeah.
So why are we stereotyping black folks by the worst of us? And let me add that for many of our grandparents, not that long ago, They couldn't legally have a bank account.
Oh no.
They could have
No.
their money taken away through the kleptocracy of Jim Crow.
Yeah, they had.
So they had to hide it
up under bed. Yep.
They had to spend the money so they'd have something to show for it before it's taken away
Yeah.
from them. They didn't have the education to find out how a mutual fund works. So this idea that we just jack off our money and blow it, that's crap.
Yeah.
If you want to look at people who don't wisely spend their money or don't utilize their money in an optimal way, rather than look at phenotype, what so-called race they are, look at what kind of education and what kind of economical class they belong to. Because poor white folks, they blow money on lottery tickets and liquor and everything else and drugs, just like poor black folks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm tired of this whole notion
But
that
I don't give a diddly
we
about nobody else,
irresponsible,
Dennis. I'm talking about our community.
and our community is investing, man.
I know we invested, but the conversation is about concerning our future. I
But
don't
you,
care
you
about.
made a blanket statement.
Yeah.
You said we don't.
Yeah.
You didn't say we don't with qualifiers. And that's all I'm saying. We don't do a damn thing like that. Many of us invest for our children's education.
Yeah, just like
Many of us invest for our retirement.
Yeah.
Many of us invest in property, that roof over our head we own. So yeah, there are some of us, but they also tend to be the ones who are less educated and the ones who have less economic means.
right.
So let's throw everybody into
But
that
what
bucket.
I'm saying, it's just a higher form, a higher level of sharecropping. We got to buy our community. We got to run other people out and put our own businesses in there. That's what I'm saying. Just like Black Wall Street, those people circulated their money within that community.
What happened to Black Wall Street?
They got jealous.
No,
and
what
burned
happened to
it down.
Black? What happened? Hold up, Pat. What happened to Black Wall Street? You had to.
What do you mean?
You had to put it into 2 words. What would you say?
It was prosperous.
It was destroyed.
Well, it was destroyed.
It was destroyed
Because-
just
because-
like Bronzeville in Chicago was
Right.
destroyed.
And who
flats
and
in
who
Detroit
destroyed
was
it?
destroyed.
And who destroyed it?
White folks came in and destroyed it, man.
Right. And then they kept the land, and because the land is important, they took the land back. All they left was
Back.
a park. Yeah.
Back.
They consumed the land that the black people owned.
And that's our fault.
No, that's what happened.
Anyhow, you talk about Black Wall Street. I learned a day or two ago that there's some folks here in town who are working towards putting a Black Wall Street right here.
Yeah, Ishmael Muhammad, a friend of ours, is leading that movement. And you see that duplicated all over the country, man. This myth that we ain't working together, we don't have any ambition above getting the next shiny thing instead of unscuffing the thing that we had to scuff. Stereotypes, man.
Yeah, but
I can't abide by it. Y'all go ahead with it.
Yeah, but we talk about it. But how do we support them? And we have to advertise that they're out there to support them.
There are apps you can put right on your phone, man, that can show you in every zip code you go to how to buy black.
Yeah.
If that's your priority.
Yeah, we got
There's
it.
also organizations all over the country where you can contribute to a fund to educate our less economically advanced children who are melanated. There's all kind of things we could do.
Right.
Rather than say we don't do.
Yeah. But we still have to pool our resources.
Yeah, but we have a lot of things. Just almost every night when I'm watching, I watch WKR a lot, and those different PBS station operates out of WKR, and it's like almost every night there's somebody on black talking about something they putting together, So it's a lot of I say work going on, and it's not it's not booming up and everything, but it's a lot of blacks doing some things, and a lot of young blacks doing things.
Yeah.
Engineering firms, architecture firms, law firms, medical firms.
Yeah.
And surgical suites.
Yeah.
We're involved in everything in this country,
And
that's despite all the obstacles put in our path.
Yeah, this lady, where is this lady at trying to turn this thing into a hospital, or what's she's trying to do? it's been in the paper for the last few days. A black lady, she's trying to, I think, she's trying to turn a hospital into something, or she's trying to do something to turn it into a hospital. Anyway,
I'm not familiar with it.
she's doing a lot of work, and again, a lot of more black people are doing stuff, and it's quite a few blacks right here in Lansing of doing things. You know, there's a gentleman who opened up something out in the mall, or he moved from the mall to someplace else.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, man.
Yeah.
Every town you go to, everywhere there are people who of color who live together. There's people who are making efforts to help the community rise up economically.
Yeah. Get out of the box.
Help the community rise up educationally. So yeah, we live in a lot of misery if you look at a percentage of the population, but that doesn't represent the ambition and the objectives of black people of any economic stratus.
You know,
They all want to be.
yeah.
Yeah. But then too, if you look at the fiery furnace of slavery that we endured and the time period that we're in now, I think is a great thing to be conscious that we do need something to rally behind, because nobody else is going to do it.
Oh no, I mean, and since we've been here, man, that's the thing I try to get across to many of us are black. And it's like we've been on our own ever since we've been here, you know. So you can't look for, you know, somebody else, different color to try to help you, you know. And I'm not gonna say people of other color don't help us, because they do, you know. But we have to step out front, you know.
Right, and keep the control.
Yeah.
Well, bottom line is, you want people to help you, you have to start by helping yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we sit back and do nothing, why should I leave everything else and come and take care of it?
Yeah.
You don't want to put in some elbow grease,
Yeah.
That's true.
you know?
Yeah.
Why should you get up and put in some elbow grease and help when you helped for 450 years for free and you get a quarter for it?
Right.
There's always a different way to look at that.
Yeah.
So, but my point is, man, we got to stop with this broad brush. This is what we do, and this is what we are, and this is what we ain't. It's not true.
So what we
Any
need to
endeavor
do
you
then-
mentioned, there's people of African descent involved in it.
What we need to do then is to be a little more aware of what's going on in the community, by whom, and then we can see where we can fit in best
Yeah.
to make sure that everything is above board.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's look at what's going on in the community real quickly. Food deserts with poor quality food. That's our fault.
No.
Stores where you can primarily buy lottery tickets, liquor, and junk food.
Yeah.
That's our fault.
No.
Schools that are underfunded, with books that are outdated,
Yeah.
and lack of access to the internet and modern communities,
Yeah.
computers.
Yeah.
Is that accidental? Is that our fault?
Oh no.
Okay,
No.
so
No.
we're looking at these symptoms of a disease called white supremacy,
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and its concomitant objective of suppressing a certain group of people,
Yeah.
or peoples, I
Yeah.
should say. And when we look at the people who are victimized, man, I'm just, for one, reluctant to say your misery, your station in life is all entirely your fault.
Yeah. But in the churches, they teaching white supremacy.
Well, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, okay.
That's a whole nother
All right,
thing.
all right, man. We gotta go. We gotta
Yes,
go.
Lord.
You know, and be sure to tune in next week, because we come back with some of the same stuff. My name is Ahmad Shakaraka, and we catch you right down in the next block for more Street Talk. Peace.
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, "You are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways. I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.